how's it going? I'm Marlena. Thanks for wandering by. So today I'm joining in on the hashtag created by my friend Candy of Candy Soul and Soil, and it is called the Candy Reading Challenge 2025. So before I talk about the challenge itself, I just want to say if you I assume that so many of you already know who Candy is, but if you don't, I'm going to leave a link to the her original video inviting you into this challenge, which actually started back at the beginning of the year, but it's not too late. It's never too late to join in. I'm going to leave a link to Candy's channel. If you haven't checked out Candy's content, you really should. I mean, it's so eclectic. Candy is an artist. She's a brilliant artist. She has witchy content, tarot content, book content, like art content. She also has a doll channel, I believe, as well. And Candy's just like an amazing person, a really good friend. So if you haven't checked out her channel before, please do so. But in any case, I'm sure many of you already know Candy. But okay, so let's talk about the Candy Reading Challenge 2025. So basically, what Candy did is she created a prompt for each month of the year with a different like fun kind of prompt. Yeah, it's like just a different kind of fun prompt to pick out a book. So it's obviously a reading challenge. The Candy Reading Challenge. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I she's got it going on at Storygraph, but you don't need to have Storygraph to get involved in the challenge. Literally, I just went and wrote down all of the prompts for myself in my notebook. And because we're in March, I realized I could maybe cheat a little with what I had read in January and February and see if it works for anything I read worked for the specific prompts. And it kind of sort of did. But I am so I'll show you. I'm going to talk about, because we're just in March. I'm just going to talk about the books that work for January and February, and then we'll talk about the books that I got for March, which I haven't started yet, but I will. I'm pretty sure I can finish one, if not two of them by the end of March. Anyway, so I'm like flailing all around because I'm really excited. I have not participated in a reading challenge that wasn't like my own, just, kind of I want to read this many books, and then I'm doing my 25 and 25 books, and I'm doing the same thing with tarot. So I have my 25 and 25 books and 25 and 25 tarot decks for 2025, and actually there might be a little bit of crossover here as well. All right. So the thing that I alluded to, I think already, is that I'm sort of doing, like, I'm kind of doubling down on this particular reading challenge. And what I want to do, because I love tarot so much, and I think Candy will get a really big kick out of this, is that I'm going to double down and use these prompts to also pick a tarot deck that matches with the theme of the books. And I've found for January and February that I kind of already was somehow, without having like committed myself to doing this challenge, I did it already. So let's go back to January, because the prompt for January was a reopen or a retell. So the prompt is, I guess I'll put it down at the bottom of the screen. So reopen, retell, read a book that's a retelling. All right, so now I am cheating just a wee teeny tiny little bit with this one, because I didn't read this book in January. I read this book in December, but whatever. I know Candy will forgive me, because what I really want to do is just recommend this book to you because it's a retelling that I've read recently enough. And that book is, I guess I'll put up the cover of the book, and it is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. Now, this is a book in a series. I think it's the the Something Soldier series. Yeah. It's the Something Soldier series, which so I think the same narrator shows up in a few of these T. Kingfisher. I'm not sure. I think maybe we classify these as a novella. But anyway, it's a short little book because the story of the fall of the House of Usher is pretty short as well. So it for me, first of all, the cover is like stunningly gorgeous. And I think this series continues on with more retellings, but this retelling, it was fun. I mean, you know, the fall of the House of Usher is about a house, castle maybe that is coming apart, has a crack down the middle, is decaying, being destroyed, and there's like the metaphor and the reasons why this house is coming apart, this corruption that's like coming through the home and the family of that home is, it's one of the things that people who read The Fall of the House of Usher debate. I mean, I'm sure there's like a kind of a thread that everybody somewhat agrees upon, but this version of this retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher, What Moves the Dead, introduces some new characters. It introduces animals in an interesting way. And it's just a really like there's things about it too that are quite funny. T. Kingfisher is kind of known for kind of their retellings, just turning the tropes and turning the myths and fairy tales and legends kind of like on their head, like really upsetting the way that things were written. And this is not it's not a super far stretch, but it's just a really like interesting retelling. I enjoyed it. I had fun reading it, and I think that, if you're into retellings of classic, literature, especially gothic, kind of stuff like Poe stories, and then you'll get a kick out of this. And it's a quick read, so I really enjoyed it. So my retelling book for January, which was really December, but we're counting it for January, was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. So then I thought, what would be a tarot deck that matches this theme as well? So a retelling is a clone. And I I worked with what I feel like is a real straight up clone of the Waite Smith tarot in January, which is the JK tarot. Oh my gosh, it's going to be glossy. So this is the Jupiter King tarot, and this is it's actually a reprint, oh, it could be like a retelling of a retelling. Maybe it's a retelling of a retelling. But the folks at Tarot Collectibles did a Kickstarter, and then now they have it for sale on their site of a reprinting of the Jupiter King Tarot, which is probably now my favorite version, a clone of an RWS. The colors have changed. It's not Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork, but it is, a clone of Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork. The colors are different. It's just, I love all the red and pinks. And I think this fits the bill, right? This fits the bill for a retelling of a tarot deck. And I used it in January. So it works. And I just love the idea of having books and tarot, together. That's something I really enjoy. So for January, reopen, retell, read a book that's a retelling, use a tarot deck that's a retelling. We had the What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher and the JK Tarot. So then for February, Candy's prompt for the Candy Reading Challenge 2025. For February, it was Fanguary. Read a book with a vampire theme. All right, so I'm also kind of sort of cheating with this one as well. But I did start the book, I just didn't finish it. And the book and I didn't even realize that I had a vampire themed book at all in February, but it was Bride by Ali Hazelwood, which is, and I think I came on here with the library hall and talked about that book as well. I didn't finish it. So it's a story of vampires and werewolves, and our main character is a vampire who is essentially has to marry, is like the daughter of, some big wig in the vampire, hierarchy, and she is betrothed and then has to marry a kind of like the son of a big wig in the werewolf whatever. And so to bring together their warring factions of vampires and werewolves. And I mean, the cover is so cool. It sounded like a lot of fun. I love vampires and werewolves, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into the book. Like, I don't know, I read a good 20% of the book. That's where I give myself like at least 20% of a book before I DNF it, do not finish it. So I think that this is a book that appeals to a lot of people, but I couldn't I just the romance was not really believable. Like I knew where it was going, and it kind of does that enemies to lovers kind of trope thing. So anyway, but I did start reading a vampire themed book in February without even knowing what Candy's theme was. And I just thought it was kind of hilarious, and it kind of sparked me, the idea of me like, well, you can do this. You can join in this or not tarot reading challenge, but I'm making it a reading and tarot challenge because that's what I do. And anyway, so I also realized that I worked with a vampire themed deck in February as well. And that is a Fool for Tarot, which is a deck created by my friend Rumor at Rumor Haven, who's also, if you haven't seen Rumor's channel, you need to go check it out. Rumor does lots of tarot content. She's been on a crystal kick lately too, and she created a Fool for Tarot, which follows the storyline of Spike from the Buffy the Vampire TV, Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series. This deck is created based on Spike's, character arc throughout the entire TV series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And now while I'm not I'm a Buffy fan, but I'm not like a die-hard Buffy stan, like my friend Rumor is, and she's also obviously a huge Spike fan. This deck is one of the most clear readers. I mean, like it's like stunned me with just like how accurate and how clear the readings are. The it's so clever too what she did, even like without knowing Spike's character arc that well, or Buffy, just just using it like with the pips, because it's a pip deck, is like amazing. But even like just not even knowing, like look at that devil card. Like even if you don't know which particular episode this is from, the imagery alone just works. Plus also Rumor wrote a poem, like a full length longer poem for each of the majors, and then I believe there's like a line for each of the minor cards. So it's just like such a like this is one of my favorite things, the Five of Onions. So this is a Five of Pentacles, and see there's nothing in the plates. It's just super clever. Here's our star card. Anyway, a Fool for Tarot, a vampire themed tarot deck. I did it, and I didn't even realize that I had done it. So I just thought that that was like so cool. Um so cool. So for the month of February, I DNF'd a vampire themed book called Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I use a Fool for Tarot, a vampire themed deck created by Rumor Haven. Okay, so now we're going to talk about March. So March, we're about halfway through March, and I haven't, so I'm joining in this challenge halfway through March, which is fine because I can get a book read by the end of the I can get a book read by the end of the month, no problem. So the prompt for March in the Candy Reading Challenge 2025 is Moonlit March. Read a book with the moon on the cover or in the title, or a woman focused book, or feminine centric book, because the moon and the moon cycles are in like in spiritual circles, it's really tied to femininity. So that's what Candy said, that you can do a book with the moon on the cover or in the title, or a woman focused book. So I actually have two books. One of them I already picked up at the library today, and then the other one is hopefully will get to me by the end of the month, but I have the audiobook is available. So, and real quick, A Fool for Tarot was one of my 25 and 25 tarot decks. And one of the books for Moonlit March, this was so much fun to do because I just went to my Goodreads and typed in moon to see what would pop up. And one of the books that is on my 25 and 25, 25 books to read in 2025 is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Wabasheg. I'm not saying that right. Rice, which, as far as I know, is a sci-fi dystopian novel. And I don't really remember much else about it except that I love a dystopian themed book. In fact, I was just like there was like a 75 dystopias to read list, and I was like, wanna read. So I added a bunch of those. But anyway, and so it has moon in the title. So Moon of the Crusted Snow is one of them. That's the audiobook that I'm gonna start hopefully soon. But the book that came in at the library is this one. It's called Water Moon by, oh my gosh, Samantha Soto Yambach. You can see my dog walking across there. Samantha Soto. So, and there is, yeah, let me turn it this way a little bit, like that. So you can see the moon. And I mean, honestly, this book, I don't think I really knew much about it when I saw somebody talking about it on YouTube somewhere. But this cover, is that not like, oh my gosh, I know it's reflective because it's a library book and they have to cover it. But like, isn't that a stunning, beautiful cover? Lovely. As far as I know, this is a book, it's magical realism or a fantasy. I'll just read the little blurb. A woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets, and then embarks on a magical journey when a charming young physicist wanders into the shop in this dreamlike and enchanting fantasy novel. Okay. So I don't know. I wonder how I'm gonna feel about this book. I hope it's not like just a cozy read, because I'm not usually into like cozy fantasy. I need it to be a little bit more gritty and hard hitting, and perhaps even like a little bit kind of like, I don't know, it makes you think, or it's disturbing in some way, or it's, calling out something about culture. I don't know. Or it's just a really good plot with like a character study. Or those are like usually the types of books that I'm into. But I do like fantasy. I do love magical realism. And I'm curious, there's like paper boats all over the cover too. So it looks beautiful. It sounds interesting. It fits the prompt. Both of those books fit the prompt, and I'm excited to get into them here for March. Now, I went now for the tarot portion of this, because I said I'm doubling down. We're doing this with tarot as well, which I think is fun. I've been like so into this whole prompt idea. And I'm going on a tangent again. Pardon me. But the whole reason why I think, I mean, I know some people can think that like doing a prompt jar and doing, to be read prompts and things like that might be silly. Like you can just read whatever you want to read. But I think it's, and it's the rules are I make up the rules and I do things, I can not read if I want to. I can stop whenever I want to. It's not like, I'm taking it seriously, but I am taking it seriously. I think with doing this stuff for both reading, my reading life and my tarot life is like it's making it fun. It's also making it like make me think. And then in from the prompt, I'm intentionally trying to pick something out based on the books that I have or the books that I want to read or the tarot decks that I want to work with. And so then it's just so far been like a really like fun, surprising way to work with things that I love. So, yeah, I mean, I just, I find myself sometimes getting really cynical about, excuse me, about stuff. And it's a really easy time to become very cynical here at the beginning of this year. So I think treating things like getting into the silliness and like doubling down on it and being whimsical and like approaching things that way and then getting value out of that. Me and my hand gestures here, but it's worthwhile to me. But okay, so for the tarot deck, I was looking for decks with moon in the title, and I had like an oracle deck, but I didn't want to work with that. And then I thought of one of my favorite tarot decks that is also on my 25 tarot decks in 2025, and that is, do you guys know? Can you guess? Can you think of a tarot deck with a moon on the cover of the box? Pause, think about it, come back, because here it is. The Tarot of the Divine. Look at that. I mean, this was one of my first tarot decks that I purchased, and the artwork is one of the main reasons that I got it. And this is the moon card, obviously, but it's a tarot deck inspired by, I'll read it off the cover, inspired by deities, folklore, and fairy tales from around the world. This deck has been out for quite some time, few years now, and I think it's one of the best decks out there. I'm just so connected to it. Here it is. I put it up front, the moon card. That is the cover art. Um, I think I'm biased because I have such a connection with it from when I first started reading tarot. And I learned tarot a lot through the, you know, conceptual connections that the author or creator of this tarot deck made between stories and the tarot. And I still hold some of those, conceptual connections, which I think is a way that people learn, um, you know, with the tarot now because of this deck. And I think like, a lot of folks would say, and I think I've mentioned this before when I talked about this deck, that folks would say not to read with a deck like this as your first deck because making those connections between the story and the tarot meaning might be too much. And I say, I think there are some learners, some brains that would really connect the dots between like concepts in that way rather than just like rote memorization of keywords or even like key phrases or even just like a I don't know, like numerological understanding or oh, I love the full cards so much. It's the Little Mermaid. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think some folks can learn that way. And yeah, and so the Tarot of the Divine is one of my favorite decks, one I had on my list to use in 2025. And now with Moonlit March, my couple of books with the moon in the title and on the cover, Water Moon, as well as the Moon of the Crusted Snow. And then we're going to use the Tarot of the Divine. So that's it. That's it for these first 3 months of the Candy Reading Challenge 2025. I will likely check back in another couple of months, or maybe I'll tack it on to and in one of my other videos as I go. But thank you so much to Candy for creating this reading challenge. It's super fun. Like, I'm really excited for the next few months. So like there's April showers and Gate May and Juicy June and July heat wave, Uncanny August, back to school September, Octopi Bear, like October Octopi Bears is going to be animal themed, No Gray November, and December, which are all really cute. I'll leave a link to Candy's original video with the reading challenge prompts in it. And yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Let me know about you if you want to join in on Candy's reading challenge with us. I'd love to hear about that too. If you're already doing Candy's reading challenge, would love to hear about that as well. Would you be interested in doubling down on it also and pairing tarot to go with your book? I'd love to hear about that. And yeah, thank you so much for sticking with me. Again, thanks to Candy for creating a super fun reading challenge tag. And I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye.